Hello, hello. I'm so happy that you are joining us tonight. My special guest tonight is Nikki G. Hey, Nikki, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy you agreed to take part in this tonight. I know this is your first go at StreamYard.
Yes, yes.
It's
Very
all
interesting.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So I thought I would just sort of bring everybody up to speed. For many of you, you know that I've been working on creating the new membership, the new community called the Clarity Seekers Community. And it's open. Let the balloons drop. It's open. So Nikki is going to be my first official speaker in the Clarity Seekers community. And so she's going to be doing a talk for us called There Is Life After Leaving a Cult.
Mhm.
So this is going to happen on the 25th of July at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So I've put the link down below. I don't want to make this all salesy, guys. That's not my intention. But you see the link below. If you want to join up for the membership, super easy to do. It's $22 a month. You can cancel whenever you like. But there's some really fantastic speakers already have been in the group where the classes are there for your enjoyment. But we've got some really great speakers coming up to speak to you as well. So, but today we're going to be introducing Nikki to the community. And I want to talk a little bit about, Nikki, how did you get into this work? I know you're a certified trauma recovery coach. You're helping people who either have been trapped by narcissistic relationships or religious cults or wow, this is such a fascinating topic to me because the people that I serve are typically very energetically sensitive. They are empaths, right?
Mhm.
They are the
Mhm.
people pleasers extraordinaire.
Mhm. Mhm.
So these are the people that sometimes get themselves into a little bit of trouble because they just want to help, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do? Like, how did you get into this? What's your story?
Hmm. Well, everybody grab some coffee, I would say. um, been through a lot of hard knocks, so to speak, and didn't set up to do this work, I will say. The
We never
universe kind of exactly, we
do,
never do.
right?
But I'm glad that there's something coming out of all the hardships that I've endured thus far. And about 2 years ago, I said yes to the universe tapping on my shoulder and say, "You ready?" And I said, "You know what? I think I am. I think I am." And I found myself saying, "Hey," I just started sharing. Found myself on Clubhouse. As soon as I said yes to the universe, a week later, I got an invitation to join Clubhouse. And that kind of was
What's
it's a,
Clubhouse?
it's a social media app, and it started in the beginning of the pandemic. I think
Okay.
it was very useful for a lot of people who are in quarantine globally, and you can connect by voice. So it's an audio app, and they have all different types of topics and groups. Maybe, Anne, you'll go in there and start a club. There are different clubs, and you pick the topic and you can share. So
Okay.
I started joining a lot of narcissistic rooms. That was, they call them rooms on Clubhouse, and I just started sharing my story and sharing my story. And out of that, it was kind of like the universe was saying, "See, it's been time. So
Mhm.
welcome, to the club, so to speak."
Yeah.
But I knew I had lived experience, but I wanted some skills to help clients and people who have come out of narcissistic relationships, religious trauma, spiritual trauma, and cults, which is my story. We'll get into that in a little bit. And so I went to get my certification in that area to help people unpack a lot of this complex trauma, which is complex in all three arenas.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. And so how long a process has this been for you?
Regarding what?
Well, deciding that you got to kind of come out and start talking about the awful things that went, that you went through as a result of being involved in all these cults. I mean, I don't
Well,
think the involvement in the cults were your choice, if I remember correctly.
oh no.
Yeah.
No one ever signs up or joins a cult, and I like to preface that from the beginning when I
Yeah.
share. People think people join cults. They don't.
Hmm.
People think that they join to be in a narcissistic relationship. They don't.
Right.
There is one presentation that is given to someone in a community, in a relationship, in a therapeutic sense, in all different arenas. And it's presented, and people buy into what's presented. They don't know behind the door is a lot of trauma and abuse and some darkness, to be honest.
Mhm.
But I believe I had some type of supernatural encounter, if you will. The end of 2020, I had to have surgery. That's a whole nother story for another day. And
Mhm.
as I was in recovery at home, I had a dream. Well, I was sleeping, and I believe some being came to my bed. And I haven't had anything like this happen in years. And I was up, but I wasn't fully awake. And I was aware that there was a presence in my room. And it
Mhm.
had like a pen that you would use to do calligraphy,
Mhm.
gold point. And I felt it go into my head and just kind of push it in there. I wasn't afraid
Mhm.
because it had been so long that I was embracing any spiritual type of, encounters. But after that, it was almost like without me even thinking, it was just so, voluntary that I said, hey, I think this is what I want to do now.
Awesome.
Hmm.
And so you're counseling people, you're coaching people who have gotten themselves tangled up in cults, or they're in abusive narcissistic relationships that maybe they're having a hard time getting free of, and or maybe possibly they don't even know that that's what this is.
Right.
So for those who are tuning in and who are the energetically sensitive, who are the empaths among us, the people pleasers, what are the signs? Like what could some of the signs be that you're getting into trouble? You're getting sort of lured into something that might be a little dangerous.
Well, I am an empathic person. I was one, you can say how far back we go, we can
Yeah.
debate on that, but
Yeah.
um, kind of merging my story into answering your question, I was like that in my family dynamic. And I come from a narcissistic family dynamic um, where my voice was stifled, my intuition was stifled, because in a narcissistic family, the dynamic revolves around the narcissistic parent. The
Right.
children are then given roles, but they're unspoken. The spouse is also given a role, they're unspoken. And everything is about making sure that narc parent is satisfied. So if that means, as an empath, sensitive person, you start to see dysfunction. You start to sense something's not right, even at an early age. If you speak up about it, the narc parent will suppress that. They will say, oh, that's not real. That's you. There's something wrong with you. That's why you're seeing it that way. And so I learned to push my intuition down, not to connect with my intuition, and to
Mhm.
learn to feel familiar around predatorial type of people. So as I got older, I still was not conscious of this. And what felt familiar was connecting with people who would take advantage of me, connecting with people who would, I don't know if we can curse,
Yeah.
mind F me, connecting with people who would start to distort reality and say
Mhm.
the sky is brown, but I knew I could see the sky was blue.
Right.
After a while, when you hear that over and over again, you start to think, well, maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe it is brown. Maybe I'm not spiritual enough. I haven't forgiven enough. I'm not wise enough to see that the sky is brown. So as I continue to grow up and connect with friends and employers, I was connecting with a lot of narcissistic people and I had no idea. And
Wow.
then that continued on to me connecting with 5 different cults in my lifetime. But the thing was, like I said, going back to the family dynamic, I was programmed to believe that people who took advantage of me, who would distort reality, that would shut down my voice and my intuition were okay. There was no dysfunction with that. It
Mhm.
wasn't until a series of hard knocks and toxic relationships that I said, okay, I have to learn what this cycle is and what's going on and how and why I'm attracted to these type of people.
Is this a generational thing, Nikki?
It
Is it?
can be. For
Yeah.
my family, yes. For my
Mhm.
family, yes. But it definitely can be. The weird thing is, with the different roles within the children, you have the golden child,
Mm-hmm.
who's like the parent's favorite child, the one that they look to carry on the family name and to carry on the family image.
Mm-hmm.
The narc parent, by spoiling that child, giving them everything they want, can actually help develop that child's personality to eventually become narcissistic themselves.
Right. Right. It makes you wonder about souls contracts. We've been doing a lot of work in the group on exploring souls contracts and what all that entails. And I know that there was a behavior from my grandmother that was so upsetting to me years and years ago when I was like 9 years old. And I had Annette Delu check it out for me by exploring Akashic records. And she went way back. I think it was 6 generations back when she saw the hardship that whatever family member that was, had gone through, and how that had carried forward all the way through to my grandmother. And then, of course, she was trying to impose it upon me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting, it's an interesting thing to explore for sure. No question.
Also, because there's this dynamic of a narcissist or a child that will have narcissistic traits can develop, but also in that same family, a child that also can develop codependent tendencies. So then that child gravitates to narcissists in the future.
Yeah.
And the narc child gravitates to empaths in the future. And so that dynamic can continue to perpetuate. And they have children and they raise them the same way until somebody decides to break the cycle.
Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
I know I was called, I have a large amount of alcoholism in my family. Both my parents were alcoholics and their parents were alcoholics, and on and on and on. And yet in this lifetime, myself and my 2 brothers aren't. So it was, explained to me that that's because I was intended to come to break that cycle.
Wow.
So we're all called to do something, right?
Wow.
So,
I love cycle breakers in the family. They go through a lot, but when they wake up and get it, man,
I know, right? When you get with the program. It's interesting listening to you talk about this. It's interesting because I'm of course the numerologist in me is coming out, and I'm thinking about various life path numbers that are more susceptible to being the people pleasers and to being the doormats and to be the codependents, that sort of thing. And of course, I do specialize with the master number 11s, and they kind of fit into that category. Right? And I mean, you were born on the 11th day, so that's certainly I can't remember what your life path number is, but I know that you're born on the 11th day, which definitely brings in that tendency to be a bit of a target, if you will.
Yes.
So it's those of us who have the lighter energies, the finer vibrations, the vibration of the 11s, the 2s, the 9s, the 7s, 6s. Oh my God, the 6s. The 6, anybody with a life path number of a 6 is somebody who just loves to be of service, right? But they'll quite often become that person who's of servitude, right? And they become really resentful of the fact that they're of that they're becoming a bit of a doormat. So they base quite often the 6s will base their self-worth based on what they can give.
Yeah.
They measure their self-worth based upon what they can give, right?
Which in a weird kind of way is a form of manipulation and control.
Oh, 100%.
It's not the same as what a narcissist would do.
Yeah.
But like you said, they feel that this is the way that they can, get certain things to happen by being nice. And these are all the patterns that I had to deal with when I started to do my own recovery. I had to deal with the people pleasing. I had to deal with looking for external validation. I had to deal with connecting with my inner compass and not relying on older people, because I always was attracted to older people, wise people, which is beautiful. There was no balance. And that's the key, is the balance.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the balance involves valuing yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah. Rather than being the one that's constantly giving all the time to the point where you're there of an empty cup, you're giving from the empty cup.
Right.
There has to be some balance in there somewhere.
Right. And that's the part of managing that gift as an empath, as a highly sensitive person, someone who feels deeply. Our gift is so important on this planet. I mean, that's an understatement. But if we don't learn to balance it out and to give and move from a place of, connection and understanding versus I need to get something, let's say from Anne. So I'm going to do all these things for Anne. I'm still in controlling type of techniques, even doing that.
Yeah, and I think the way that society has been evolving. I mean, you think about social media and you think about
Mhm.
billboard advertisements, and I don't know what my guilty pleasure is watching America's Got Talent. I love that show.
Mhm,
Right?
mhm.
I love that show, but I have a tendency to tape it because they have like a bazillion advertisements, and so my husband and I have this little game where we push the remote control to buzz through the ads, and of course they're
Mhm.
whipping by really fast, and he'll be going, oh, there's TELUS, there's Subaru, there's Ford, there's Dairy Queen, and we're just like rattling them off, right? But what brings home to me is that the advertisements, whether you're seeing them on social media, whether you're seeing it on billboards, whether you're seeing it on TV or radio or wherever, every single advertisement that you're exposed to is designed to teach you that you are not good enough.
Come on.
You
That's
have
good.
this,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You're not good enough unless you have this car and you drive this car. You're not good
Mhm.
enough unless you're educated this way. You're not
Mhm.
good enough unless your hair is colored with this stuff and
Mhm.
whatever, right? But
Mhm.
it's constantly bombarding of being told that we're not good enough, right? So
Right.
that puts us into a very vulnerable position of
Yeah.
wanting to be better and to wanting to serve more. And
Mhm.
now we become even more prey to those who
Mhm.
prey upon us. Would you agree?
And yes, absolutely. And the thing about narcissists, predatorial type of people, cult leaders, they kind of understand empathic and sensitive people and how they're
Mm,
wired more than we understand ourselves.
yes.
They know that we will affirm
Yes.
and praise them. They know that we will be there and be very long suffering as they are getting themselves together. They know that we will be loyal
Yeah.
because we also have that need to I need to fix, I need to save, I need to help,
Mm-hmm.
which is beautiful, but if it's not in balance, we are then prey for these type of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I often talk to my clients, and when I speak about these topics, the dance between the narc and the empath.
Yeah,
They both need each other. They're both pulling off of need for each other.
that's true.
The narc
Mhm.
needs the empathic person because of what I just said. They know they'll be loyal. They'll know they get the affirmation. They know they can turn into the Incredible Hulk and they'll stick by them.
Yeah.
But the empath still has issues with knowing who they are,
Yeah.
still is deferring guidance for their life on the narcissist, especially if you have spiritual narcissists, which I will talk more about next week because
Mhm.
that is a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
And so when we start to understand our gift, but our vulnerabilities, then we can start working through these things so that our gift shines more and our vulnerability volume level is turned down a little bit more.
And that really speaks. I can't wait to hear you speak on that next week. This is for those of you who are tuning in a little bit later. Nikki is going to be my guest speaker in the Clarity Seekers community on June 25th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. This is when we're really going to be expanding upon this topic. This is just a little sneak preview of what we're going to be talking about next week. But the fact that your website, that you've named your website nikkispeaks.com. I mean, hello.
Nikki G speaks. I'm just noticing that now.
Oh, I did too. I knew I screwed that up. Remember I said
Oh, that's okay.
it
That's
is
okay.
Nikkig speaks.com.
Mm-hmm,
I'm
mm-hmm.
gonna fix that. But tell me more about that. Elaborate on that for me. Because I
Well,
think it's important.
I believe that part of my gifting has been my ability to communicate. Part of my gifting, I believe, has been my voice.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I've been through, a lot of the trauma and abuses I've been through, any type of trauma, but particularly these type of traumas, it silences you. It puts
Yeah.
duct tape over your mouth.
Right.
And but because you're gifted to speak and to share and to empower, that energy is still inside. It's still like a tornado brewing, but the trauma is over your mouth. And so
Right.
what I do helping clients is let's pull that off little by little. We're not going to do this, but
Mhm.
as you're ready and you get your strength, let's take that off because you're supposed to sing, you're supposed to create, you're supposed to lead, you're supposed
Yep.
to help set up structures for the structures that are crumbling right now on this planet. You're supposed to create the opposite.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. But you know what inspired me a lot and why I asked you to come into this program was the fact that I just could not believe the courage that you mustered to be able to say, I was abused, I was abused. I was in lockdown, basically. My voice was taken from me. I was undervalued. I was many things come to mind, but the fact that you found the courage to speak up and it's so interesting to me that the fact that you were born on the 11th day speaks to the spiritual messenger, right? So those of us who are 11s or have an 11 somewhere in your chart, or even just the 9, like the 9s and the 7s and whatnot, there's all kinds of numbers in particular, but the ones that are super empathic, they feel everybody's pain. And what they want to do is they want to stop the pain for that person. There's a bit of confusion. There's a bit of a contradiction there, because part of it is, do I want to stop the pain for that person, or do I want to stop the pain for me because I'm feeling their pain? So it's a bit of a double-edged sword there. But in the end, those of us who are the spiritual teachers need to find our voices, need to find the courage to step it up.
Yes.
I love the story that I mean, how many cults were you involved in?
5 different ones, because there's such a thing as a term called cult hopping, that until you are aware of what you've been through and start really healing and processing, it is very easy and very common to go from one cult to another cult to another cult until you say, hey, wait, what's going on? Obviously, I was not conscious of this. I just was looking for better communities, healthier communities. But I had an imprint that goes all the way back to the family that said cultic environments were okay. They were familiar.
Yes.
Because my first cult was actually my narcissistic family. This is where I developed the program to allow people to use their wisdom and their spirituality and all the mysteries that they've experienced, and my desire to want to know these things and to grow and to learn and to be guided, because I didn't connect with my internal compass to guide my own life. So I just fell prey from one cult system to another cult system until I just was at the last straw, and I said, I got to do something.
Well, I can't say that I was ever involved in a cult that I know of. I'm certain I never have. But I do remember church shopping from being a very young child, a need to belong. I had a huge need to belong. I have a 2 karmic lesson, which implies I had a need to belong. And I begged my parents to take me to church. Begged them to take me to church, but they refused because they had been raised in such strict religious homes that they said, absolutely not, are we going to start that in our family?
Right.
So I took myself. I was 6 years old, and I took myself to the big church. And I walked up the big steps, got in the big church, and looked around and went, I don't know where to go. I just want to drink apple juice, eat cookies, and talk to Jesus. That's why. Isn't that why everybody goes to church? I ended up in a big church with everybody staring at me like, who is she, and why is she here by herself? Where are her parents? This never stopped for me. I mean, this went on for years. We moved from one community to the next, and I would hop from one church to the other just to find a place to belong. And then eventually I ended up in one particular church where, there was some stuff going on in there that I didn't think was cool, right? And don't think for 1 minute I'm damning the church, guys, by any stretch. I'm not. Right. I think the church serves an absolutely amazing service to a lot of people. But the one that I ended up in, I didn't feel did, and I had to leave because I had to discern what I felt was right, from what I felt was wrong. So, yeah.
And that's the thing about any type of community, whether it's a church, a mosque, a synagogue, some type of spiritual community, that beginning stage is very crucial.
Yes.
Because you have that community presenting as if you can belong here. You will have a family here. You will have people who care about you. And so that is being presented simultaneously. The individuals that are going in have certain vulnerabilities, perhaps loss of relationships, deaths, loved ones, feeling very isolated, just maybe lost their job or broke up with their boyfriend, or saying, you know what, the world is getting so dark, I want to have more spiritual guidance in my life. I need to go to a church. I need to join a community. Like you said, that need to belong, and particularly youth. Young people are very susceptible to these types of communities, harmful communities, because when you're young and you're in your early 20s, you're looking to belong. Number one, you're looking for family, especially that volume level is high if you've come out of dysfunctional families, but you're looking to make impact on the planet. So you're going to gravitate to places or communities or churches that are doing big things, seemingly. So that's coming in. The presentation is you can belong, you have value, you have place here. The marriage happens. During that time, neither one is discerning of, could this be right? Could this be wrong? The ability to critically think and reason and to discern, that volume level is turned down. The need level is turned up. And this is when we even meet narcissistic people, leaders, relationships. That need to fill in the blank is turned on volume 100. The critical thinking volume button is turned down. And this is how we get swept up in it, join cults without even joining them and not knowing what we're in till it's way too late.
This is just so, and I'm sorry, I hear somebody sawing or something outside. I hope this isn't.
Oh, I don't hear it. I don't hear it. You're good.
This is so interesting to me because, of course, I've had the Master Number 11 membership for the last 3 years, and the word membership was bothering me. It really bothered me. I just wasn't getting it right. But community is everything I've wanted. I've always wanted to have a community where people could come and that they would feel welcome, and that they would feel supported, that you can talk about anything and not, be judged for it.
Right.
But as you're talking, I'm thinking like, why is my, why is my there's the M word again. Why is my community different? And I feel that what makes us stand out a little differently, this community is, yes, we want you to come in. Sure, we want you to join. Yes, we want you to be part of the community so we can all support each other. But this isn't a cult, right? What it is I'm trying to help people figure out who they are, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. And we're going to talk about all kinds of topics. Heck, we were talking about aliens last month, right?
Yeah.
It isn't about saying you have to be this, sister, or you have to be that, brother. It's not like that at all. It's simply an enjoyable environment where I'm teaching numerology. I've got wonderful guest speakers like yourself coming in, all this kind of good stuff. So I think this is really timely. This topic is really, really timely. What is a healthy community over one that isn't?
I think what you just said is so powerful. And this is the part of the reason why I said yes to share, to speak, and respect you, because leaders of whatever, if you're a therapist, a coach, if you lead anybody, if you're leading your children, and I share this, what I'm about to say quite often, this is for anybody.
Yeah.
We want to lead people, not to us, to depend on us and our wisdom. We
100%.
want to lead people to themselves. Their home and their safety is within.
Yes.
As they evolve, they can decide if their home correlates this way. But we have to give people free will and choice. Even with any wisdom, experience, expertise we have, at the end of the day, if people are pointing back and constantly saying, oh, well, Ann said this, and Ann said that, and Ann taught this. No. What did you learn? So you can sit with wisdom, you can hear different people who have expertise, but at the end of the day, you filter that through your inner compass. I did not have that connection, so I was definitely vulnerable to listen to whatever someone taught me who seemed to be wise and spiritual.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It brought me back to when I used to teach Reiki. People would come to me for Reiki treatments. They'd come month after month after month. And, financially, sure, that's a great thing. Any Reiki practitioner would love to see that. But it bothered me because I thought, I can teach you how to do this for yourself. You don't have to rely on me, and it was that connotation around well, I'm going to come to you because you can heal me. I'm like, hell no. I don't want that responsibility. I'm not going to heal you. I'm just the light bearer. I'm just the one that channels the light and helps you to see what needs to be fixed. You know, I used to explain to my clients coming in that on the day that they were born, they had this beautiful jigsaw puzzle that laid
Mhm.
out within them, right? It's in perfect
I
alignment
love
with
that.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that jigsaw puzzle is made up of your body, your mind, and your spirit.
Mm.
But by the time you're about 2 years old and people are yelling at you, get away from the stairs, or don't put that fork in the light socket, you know, you're going to look at yourself. Things like that. The little ones kind of go, oh, right? And the chakras shut down. And this causes us to get a little dark inside. And then the
Yeah.
puzzle gets a little mixed up, right? So me as a practitioner, as a Reiki practitioner, all I was doing was going in, sending the light in, allowing them to look around and go, oh, okay, so this puzzle piece is out of placement. I got to put that back before I do this, right?
Mhm.
Let
Mhm.
them figure it out. Just give them the tools to do it.
Right.
It's never about, you know, me being the healer or me being
Mhm.
the leader. It's always about how can I lead you to you? You know,
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
biggest thing is how do I help you to do just you? Like,
Exactly.
you know, just do
Exactly.
you,
But
right?
it takes humility within a leader, a spiritual one, a wise
Mhm.
person
Yeah.
to do that. And that's something that unfortunately I see in so many different arenas. People who have climbed the mountains of spirituality and all their chakras are aligned and they
Yeah.
read from mysterious books and historical writings that no one else has access to. And they prop themselves up as they are the only ones that have the answers. And that's how cults form.
Right.
But this is something when I came out, I've been out of my last cult about 8 years now.
Mhm.
During that time frame, I had a lot of work to do. I went to see therapists. They helped with my complex PTSD. They helped with my acute trauma. They didn't give me understanding of what I was in. I had to take
Mhm.
ownership for my life. And this was kind of a first thing. I knew I was drowning and I was a single mom. I had to save myself. So I
Right.
started that process. And it wasn't just education on what is narcissism, what do they look like, what do narcissists do, what are cult leaders, because you can get drunk and intoxicated off of what did they do to me, what did they do to me. But
Mhm.
when I started looking within and I started seeing certain cycles, certain maladaptive coping mechanisms that
Yep.
I developed because of trying to survive in the trauma. But this one was a big one, and it took me some time and to really sit with this. And this was what it was. I did not want to take responsibility for my own life.
Of course.
I was lazy, and it felt easier for me to connect with somebody like you
Mhm.
because you seem wise and knowledgeable and have experience. So if I hook my hook onto you, I can learn from you and you can guide me. You can make decisions for me. You can tell me what career I should go to. And
Mhm.
I never took responsibility for my life. And that was the therapist didn't give me that knowledge. That came this way. And I
Yeah.
sat with it and I cried because I didn't know that that's what was going on internally. But once I started dealing with that, man, that just shut off so many more narcissistic people that could try to come my way now because now I'm not relying on you to
Yep.
guide my life. I will
Uh-huh.
take information. Thank you very much. But it's home in here. It's the wisdom box that I get to open up and pull those answers out that's
Yeah.
in every human being. We just have to learn that it exists.
And you have to recognize that you always have the power of choice,
That's right.
right? You
Choice is
always do.
beautiful.
Stuff
Yes,
does not happen to you, right? Life
yes,
is never
yes,
happening to you. It's always
yes.
happening through you, and we get to choose how we respond.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
creates our reality, right?
Yes.
So you can stay the victim as long as it serves you, but
Right.
you can choose to step into victory if you
Yeah.
want to when you're ready, right?
Mhm.
So I think choice is important.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I want to just kind of wrap up. If anybody has any questions out there, they're welcome to post them. Um, any thoughts, any issues that you might want to have addressed next week, possibly. As I say, we're going to be going on the 25th of, I should have done that, shouldn't I? The 25th of
July.
July. Thank you.
Mhm. It's okay.
It's been a busy month. July, which is next Monday. We're going to be meeting at 7 o'clock in the Clarity Seekers community. If you're not a member yet, why not join up? The link is rolling down below there. It's also in the chat if you want to click on in there. It's $22 a month, guys. And there's actually at $22 a month, you can get a $47 course for free included in that. So, and you can cancel whenever you like. So it's entirely up to you. But there's, oops, let me just bring that up for a second. Sorry. I'm kind of new to this whole, there we go. Our banners, there, perfect. Boom. 30 Seekers now open, just officially opened. And I'm so pleased that Nikki G is going to be my first official speaker in the group. So we are going to be talking about the fact that there is life after leaving a cult, that you don't have to be afraid of this. It's, yes, there's some challenges, but Nikki's going to be sharing with us, how do we overcome those challenges? What do we need to look out for? How do we keep ourselves from getting involved in these cults in the first place? Identifying the patterns and the cycles and the rituals and all these things that we get sucked into occasionally. How do we stand up and be us? How do we stand up and be counted and seen and heard? And how do we value ourselves so that we can stand up to the narcissistic behavior and the control issues that are out there? Nikki's written it down here. Surrendering to the shattering, because basically that's really what you went through, isn't it? 8 years ago, you finally shattered and broke into a million pieces, and it takes time to rebuild, right?
It does.
But I'm just so thrilled that you've made it, and you've made it your career to support people in helping them to be able to pick up, right? So they can connect with you at NikkiGSpeaks.com.
Yes.
So, you have a fabulous website, lots of information on there. And Clubhouse, I think you said they can be on Clubhouse.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. So yeah, that's it for tonight, guys. If there's any questions you want to post down below after the fact, by all means do that. We'll do our best to answer them. And just really looking forward to seeing you this time next week, isn't it?
Yeah. And let me add one thing, if you don't mind, Anne. There may be someone that watches this or watching it now and say, well, I've never been in a cult, so I don't know how that would apply to me. But some of the same patterns and tactics that cult leaders use that are prevalent in cult communities are also very similar in narcissistic relationships, narcissistic family. They're very, very similar. Yeah. And a lot of people sometimes think, I would never join a cult. And like I said, we don't join cults. We're presented with this buffet of beautiful, items to pull from. And once you get in there, you see it is not what you thought it would be. And in 2022, 2 people can form a cult. 4 people can form a cult. Your friendship dynamic can be cultish, your family dynamic, the relationship you're in. So it doesn't take a building of 400 or 500 people to just make it a cult. We have online cults. We have conspiracy theory cults. There's a lot of things going on with the politics and religion, which I was a part of a lot of that too. So I would encourage people to still check it out, even though that's not your experience, so you can get some tips to make sure my experience won't be your experience.
Ooh, I like that. That was good. The other thing I find really just fascinating about the whole thing is that when I'm looking at people's numerology charts and when people book sessions with me, they can also look at one other person of concern to them. And I can see the narcissist a mile away on a chart. I can also see the one that is vulnerable to narcissism a mile away. So the numbers don't lie, right? And this is something that we talked about in the membership. There's twice a month I'll be teaching numerology. We'll be teaching the basic core numbers in numerology so you can start learning how to build a chart. About who are prey, and who are the potential narcissists, and why would this number attract that number, kind of thing. So it's just really, really interesting. Anyway, I hope that you'll join us. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all next week, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hoping you're creating your best days ever, guys. Bye for now.